hoping to mitigate the effects through consistent advocacy. According to the Special Advisor to the Governor on Environment, Mr. Ola Oresoya, waste management system is a way of life and a system that cannot be changed overnight. He said this after a cleaning exercise of refuse in parts of Abeokuta, the state capital. Tiwalade Faison has the details.
Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. And this infers that people have a moral duty to keep themselves and their homes clean. The recent incident of dumping refuse indiscriminately, especially by the roadside, which is attributed majorly to doubling of operation cost and a change in system, has now been termed an offense for anyone involved in this act. Traders around the affected areas commended the state government for a job well done in evacuating of waste. They stated how adamant the people can be in the course of disposing their waste.
In fact, the government is trying a lot concerning it, but our people are adamant. They don't listen to simple instruction. It's not the people in this environment that normally create all those rubbish that you see outside. People will bring their cars and drop refuse at the roadside.
The challenge is the failure of marketers to follow just a simple rule. We are not happy with the trend. We are willing to support government in ending this menace.
Mr. Shofela Akimbodi, Director of Operations of Ogun State Waste Management Authority, appealed to desist from dumping refuse by the roadside, but rather dispose their waste appropriately through waste disposal agencies.
We work 24 hours throughout the clock now, so that's what we are doing now. And our people, we've been telling our people not to bring waste to the road. We have a house-to-house PSP operator that come to our household to pick this refuse. But some, maybe because they don't want to pay the token we have been saying they do, and they will still prefer to bring the waste outside. So what we are appealing to our people is that keep your waste in your doorstep. We will come, our PSP operator will come and evacuate the waste from time to time.
Mr. Ola Oresoya, the Special Advisor to the Ogun State Government on Environment, said government will continue to create awareness for the people so as to continue to provide effective services.
We'll keep on with the jingles, we'll keep on talking to our people, then we'll sustain enforcement. So we are doing enforcement, the formal enforcement, and the informal one. The informal one is to recruit the communities to stay by the roadside overnight and prevent people from dumping refuse on the road.
It is strongly believed that the process of achieving a clean and hygienic environment is a collective responsibility that must be embraced by all and sundry. Tiwalade Faison, OGTV News.
A prolonged rainfall has been predicted for Ogun State this year. To this end, residents in flood-prone areas across the state have been advised to look for an alternate abode. Fora Adesonwo reports.
A clarion call to all. 2 seasons of rainfall have been predicted for year 2022 alone. This has sent strong signals to the spines of the 20 local government areas of Ogun State.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the Hydrological Service Agency predicted that the 2 seasons of rainfall this year will be between April and December for year 2022. According to the prediction, Ogun State, being a coastal state and the country, will experience prolonged rainfall that will accompany with flash flood in most part of the state, especially in the months of June and July, while the later coastal flooding may be compounded with the release of water from Oyon Dam, accompanied with high tide in the lagoon.
Flanked by top echelons of the Ministry of Environment and engineers from the 20 local government areas, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Environment, Ola Oresoya, expresses conviction that the government of Ogun State is ready to tackle the challenges successfully. He said this, however, depends on the support of the people.
Consequently, residents in the wetland areas with low rainfall infiltration, water infiltration, such as Isheri, Akute, Wariwa, Okiafa, Owa, and Yemule, riverbanks in Ijebole, Onihale in Ifo, Ogun Waterside, Bute Kimobi in Ijebu East, and those living near floodplains of Shokori, Arakonga, and Onikoko rivers in Abeokuta, Eruwawa in Chagamu, Ijamido, Isaka, Owodeyewa in Adodo Water local government are advised to take precautionary measures during this season.
Ogun State has the largest recycling plants in Nigeria. Adefowora Adesanwo, OGTV News.
Away from that now, all public and private primary and secondary schools, as well as government science and technical colleges in Ogun State, are to resume for third-term academic session on Monday, 25th April 2022. A statement by the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, says academic activities are to commence immediately. The National Examinations Council, NECO, has rescheduled the 2022 National Common Entrance Examination, NCEE, which is conducted for admission into Federal Unity Colleges from 23rd April 2022 to 7th May 2022. NECO said the examination was rescheduled to give states with low registration of candidates the opportunity to register more candidates for the examination. NECO Head Information and Public Relations Division, Aziz Sani, who disclosed this on a statement archived, candidates, parents, guardians, and relevant stakeholders to take note of the new date for the examination. Driven by passion to put smiles on the faces of the older generation and uplift the living standard, Mrs. Stephanie Ayo Akinyemi has built an ultra-modern facility to cater for the need of aged people in society. The laudable initiative is located at Keita Housing Estate, Idiaba, Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. She Allow reports.
Old age is one of the realities that all human beings aspire to reach. Many elderly people, however, struggle to carry out expected day-to-day activities effectively as they grow older, and there is need to give them helping hands and proper care. This brought about a vision in Mrs. Stephanie Ayo Akinyemi as she built a convalescent home in Abeokuta, Ogun State, to cater for the aged in the society. The ultra-modern care home, which is located at Kenta Housing Estate, Idiaba, was commissioned and officially declared open for service.
In the name of God the Father, amen. God the Son, amen. God the Holy Spirit, amen.
The Tranquility Convalescent Home Care is a 24-hour long-term care home for the sick and recuperating elderly people in our society. We also will have a home health division that if patient is being discharged from the hospital and they recuperate here and they want to go home, we have registered nurses, trained nurses that will follow them home and will continue with their care.
Chairman of the occasion is Royal Majesty, the Alake and Paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Michael Adedotun Gbadebo, lauded the initiative and admonished everyone to give her all the support.
Please, whatever support you want to give her, please give her. She deserves it. I want to assure her that in my own little way, whatever support I can give, I will give.
Representing the Ogun State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tommy Coker, Dr. Kendi Ololade congratulated the management and board of Tranquility Convalescent Home for the initiative and promised that government will continue to give such initiative a push.
I want us to know that this is just the beginning, and there are so many things, so many other convalescent homes that this is going to welcome from the diaspora, from the national sector.
The Tranquility Convalescent Home provides hospital-grade intensive care for the aged in need, and treatment to be offered will be under the supervision of a physician. The home facilities include a recreational center for leisure activities, a facilities for meal and gatherings, a dedicated center medical care with nurses, doctors, and with adequate security. Sheyi Halao, OGTV News.
And still to come in the news, All Progressives Congress APC settles for of the news. The administration of Prince Dapo Abeokuta in Ogun State has been given thumbs up for supporting projects aimed at empowering women economically. The commendation followed its recent move in signing Executive Order 35% Women Inclusion in Government and Politics as the official flag of individual livelihood grants to beneficiaries of the Nigeria for Women project in the state. Elizabeth Esson, who was with the World Bank task team, who was in the state for midterm review mission report, that the team was at the offices of the Deputy Governor, Engineer Naimot Salako Ojidele, and the Commissioner for Finance and Chief Economic Advisor to the Governor, Mr. Dapo Ukubadejo. A report.
One of the pillars of the Ishaya development mantra of the Prince Dapo Abeokuta-led administration in Ogun State is social development involving women empowerment was given a boost as the state was selected among the beneficiaries of the federal government's women empowerment projects supported by the World Bank, tagged Nigeria for Women projects. Recently, the state governor, Prince Dapo Abeokuta, announced taking the project around the 20 local governments of the state, with the 3 beneficiary local governments in the first phase. Following this step was a commendation by the World Bank tax team, led by Michael Ilesomi, who was on a midterm review mission to the state to interact with beneficiaries for adjustments, scale-up, and general assessments.
On this project, we started with 3 local governments in your state, but the government, in its wisdom, recognizing the importance and the impact of this program, has then decided to use its own resources to expand the project to all local governments in the state. This is the first in Nigeria, and I think it's worthy of commenting.
Others who commended the Ogun State government building solid foundation for sustainability of the project in the state were representative of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Sybil Shidiak, one of the partners of the project and co-tax team lead.
I'm quite interested in improving women's livelihood opportunities. We want to see women be able to increase their agency, their ability to select, but also hear from all of you who are here what is working, what is not working. This is our chance to change direction, course correct.
Receiving the World Bank and Nigeria for Women project teams, the state's Deputy Governor, Engineer Naimo Salako Oyedele, and Commissioner for Finance and Chief Economic Advisor to the Governor, Mr. Dapo Ukubadejo, confirmed that the projects aligned with the program of the present administration, hence the total acceptance of the project.
The states, it's usually easy to depend the state, and of course, their success has now been more for the women of the state.
The bonding, the camaraderie, the knowledge sharing, the mentoring, the cross-fertilization of ideas, are some of the things that that we believe will help build the competitiveness of human development. So that's why we like this.
In their different remarks, the National Project Coordinator, Ruth Michela, the Permanent Secretary, who is also the Secretary State Steering Committee, Mrs. Melucia Oguremi, and the State Project Coordinator, Mrs. Bolanle Fadairo, commended the state government for giving the project an enabling environment to thrive. Presently, the project has 2,431 women affinity groups and 41,133 beneficiaries in the state. Elizabeth Tesson, OGTV News.
Now, politics. The All Progressives Congress APC will choose its presidential candidates through an indirect primary election. The decision was reached at the party's 11th National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari and other leaders of the party transmitted their powers to the National Working Committee of the APC to make decisions for a period of 90 days. Among those who will be contesting the APC presidential primary are Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, former Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu, the Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi, and Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State. Others in the APC who are rumored to be nursing presidential ambitions include Ekiti State Governor and Chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, Kayode Fayemi, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige. The Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, is also considered a contender. In a related development, members willing to participate in the presidential primary election of the All Progressives Congress APC are to pay 100 million naira for the nomination and expression of interest forms. Similarly, the nomination and expression of interest forms for those seeking the party's ticket to contest the governorship election in their respective states cost 50 million naira. APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Morgan announced this at a briefing with reporters in Abuja. Ahead of the party's primary and general elections, several chieftains of the ruling party, including aides to President Muhammadu Buhari and serving governors, have indicated their interest to succeed him when his tenure ends in 2023. Before the briefing by the party's spokesman, President Buhari presided over an extraordinary emergency meeting of the APC National Executive Committee. Among those present were Professor Yemi Osinbajo, President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, and Governor Fayemi of Ekiti, among other party leaders. In preparation for the election, the NEC resolved to vest its powers on the National Working Committee NWC of the party for the next 90 days. The resolution followed a motion moved by Senator Lawan and seconded by Speaker Gbajabiamila. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong case for the leadership and members of the All Progressives Congress APC to continue to make unwavering sacrifices as well as needful compromises towards furthering the unity of purpose as the 2023 general elections draw near. Addressing an extraordinary emergency meeting of the National Executive Committee of the party, the president warned against imposition of unpopular candidates for elections and the tendency to develop cliques. The Forum of Former Councillors of Ogun State, who served between 2015 to 2019, Ogun West Chapter, under the leadership of the former leaders, have held an interactive session with Senator Solomon Olamilekun Adiola in Ilaro. The interactive session was attended by former councillors who served in Ogun West senatorial districts between 2015 and 2019. The socio-political and infrastructure development of Ogun West senatorial district since the creation of Ogun State in 1976 were part of what were discussed at the session. The forum, however, commended the approach of Governor Dapo Abiodun in creating a new window of hope and putting Ogun West in a vantage position in the development agenda of Ogun State.
In the state, the inclusive approach of Governor Dapo Abiodun is creating a new window of hope and putting Ogun West better in the development agenda of the state. Members of the Forum of Former Councillors of the State present submitted that they have been following closely the performance of Senator Adeola as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and give a verdict of excellent performance in the area of bills, motion sponsor, oversight duty, and facilitation of development projects and empowerment to the senatorial district he currently represents.
Senator Solomon Adeola seized the opportunity of the session to talk about his aspiration to represent Ogun West in the Senate through the 2023 general elections. The gathering also pledged their support for Prince Dakpo Abiodun to retain for second term as governor of Ogun State, and also to work individually and collectively for the emergence of Senator Solomon Adeola as senator representing Ogun West Senatorial District. Away from politics, Muslim faithful have been urged to utilize the holy month of Ramadan to purify their souls, as this will reduce the high moral decadence prevailing in the society. This was part of the emphasis made by the state political leaders who participated at the Ramadan lecture organized by the Office of the Special Assistant to the Governor on Student Matters, led by Comrade Adeyemi Aziz Amo. Adebola Oshomaji covered the event held at June 12 Cultural Center, Kuto, Abeokuta. A report.
Ramadan, the holiest month in Islamic calendar, is a time for reflection and spiritual exercise. As Muslim faithfuls fast, they equally put in more effort to follow the teachings of Islam and intensify efforts in the remembrance of Allah as they mingle with fellow men. To serve spiritually to the soul during this period, Office of the Special Assistant to the Governor on Student Matters, led by Comrade Adeyemi Aziz Amao, organized a special prayer for Ogun State Governor and the leadership of the state. The Islamic cleric, Chief Imam Ansarudin Owodeyewa, Sheikh Ewosho, emphasized on the benefits of the holy period.
But because people are doing it, I have to do it too. Because it is what is in vogue, I have to copy it and I have to continue to do it. So if you can maintain your personality, your person, amidst all these crises, we will say that is sanity. But if you do otherwise, that is insanity.
The host, Comrade Aziz, promised the continuation of Ramadan lecture and its relevance with the theme, maintaining your sanity in an insane world.
It's unfortunate that in the country of today, we have majority of Nigerian youths and students engaging in money rituals, many social vices, and this has obviously brought down the integrity, the glory of our country as a nation. So in contributing to Abeokuta in restoring the far lost glory, we have to engage the minds of Nigerian students and Nigerian youth. So going forward,
the State Deputy Governor, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, who was represented by the Senior Special Advisor to the Governor on Deputy Governor's Office, Kola Salako, noted that continuous admonition would increase ethical values missing in the society.
And to continue to affect the different state, I want to tell you to please take this subject and make it a reflection in our way of life.
Dignitaries took turn in dishing out messages as they promised monthly stipends to the participants. Adebola Oshomoji, OGTV News.
The Commissioner of Police in Ogun State, Lanre Sikiru Bankole, said the need for parents to train their children in a godly way will put an end to criminal acts in society. He made this known at the annual Ramadan lecture organized by the Nigeria Police Force, Ogun State Command, tagged Child's Upbringing in the Islamic Way, where the pros and cons of proper upbringing of a child was examined. Tiwalade Faison reports.
Society today is full of several moral decadence, especially among the youth. From the Islamic perspective of raising a child, parents have a vital role to play in ending the challenges of immorality. The guest lecturer at the Nigerian Police Ogun State Command annual Ramadan lecture, Sheikh Abdul Latif Ademoye, sees family as the smallest unit of the society, where a child is exposed to the basic things of life at an early stage. He enjoined parents to pay special attention to their children at home. Chairman, Police Community Relations Committee, Ogun State, Venerable Samson Bukwola, demands that in times such as this, every parent must be on the lookout for their children at all times, so as to have a positive effect on them.
I found out that every parent must be on the lookout for their children, whether at home, in school, within the community, and wherever they find themselves, because that's about the only legacy we can leave after leaving this world.
Commissioner of Police, Lanre Sikiru Bankole, said the annual lecture is organized to focus on ways to end the menace of criminal and criminality among the youth, as it is a collective responsibility of both religious and community leaders.
Let's imagine a society whereby every parent is able to bring up the child in a fit and proper manner. If A does his part, B does his part, of course, we are less likely to have bad children in society.
Special prayer was held for the Nigeria police, and food items were distributed to beneficiaries. Tiwalade Faison, OGTV News.
Saudi authorities have allocated 43,000 pilgrims quota to Nigeria for the 2022 Hajj exercise. The much-awaited quota for the 2022 ritual is far below 95,000 allocation granted in 2018 and 2019 Hajj. Briefing journalists in Kano, Executive Secretary, Kano State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Alhaji Mohammed Abadambata, confirmed the development. The Ogun State chapter of the Radio, Television and Theatre Arts Workers Union Retail now has new leadership. The new executive members of the union were elected at its 6th triennial delegate conference in Abeokuta. Odunayo Oreyeni was there. She now reports.
Another convergence of delegates to appoint new executives for the Ogun State chapter of Radio, Television, Theatre and Arts Workers Union, Ratau, that would lead the union for the next 3 years. The event started with a welcome address by the outgoing chairman, Comrade Adewale Bangbushe.
On behalf of our member Ratau, Ogun State Council welcome all and sudden for partaking in other landmark in the history of Ogun State Council, Ratau.
There were also goodwill messages from the National ESCO delegates present at the Congress. The Congress was eventually declared open by the General Manager of Ogun State Broadcasting Corporation, Comrade Tony Shogbeson.
I hereby, in the name of God the Almighty, declare this Congress 2022 Ogun State Ratau Congress opened.
The election kicked off with the accreditation of delegates. All other positions were unopposed except the chairmanship position, with Comrade Adewale Bangbushe of Ogun State Television and Idowu Rotimi of Paramount FM vying for the seat. The election was conducted by the Vice President in charge of the Northeast Zone, Danladi Phillips. Comrade Bangbushe polled 24 votes out of the total 50 votes cast, while Comrade Idowu Rotimi had 26. Incidentally, Comrade Bangbushe in the last election of the union defeated the same opponent, Idowu Rotimi, with the same number of votes in their contest for the vice chairmanship of the union. The swearing-in of the new executives was thereafter conducted. The newly elected chairman could not hide his excitement.
Sincerely, I cannot hide my feelings. I thank God for giving me victory today.
It's a new journey for the new officers of the state Ratau as they assume the responsibility of leading the union for the next 3 years. Odunayo Oreyeni, OGTV News.
The United Nations Tourism Organization has awarded 100 tourism online academy scholarship to Nigerians willing to undertake basic training in the field of tourism. Special Assistant to the President Media Office of the Minister of Information and Culture, Segun Adeyemi, disclosed this in a statement. He said the offer was presented to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, by the UNWTO Secretary General, Mr. Zurab Pololikashvili, Chile, at a dinner hosted by the UNWTO in honor of the minister and his delegation in Madrid, Spain. Pololikashvili said the World Tourism Organization recognizes the efforts of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and its Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, to empower youth and boost quality education in tourism by granting 100 UNWTO Tourism Online Academy scholarships. He said the scholarships will lead to the award of certificates on the introduction to tourism industry management course. The UNWTO Tourism Online Academy is a partnership between the World Tourism Organization and the University in Madrid, Spain. The Nigerian Air Force has constituted a panel to probe the training aircraft that crashed on Tuesday. The board was set up to determine the main cause of the crash. No fewer than 2 pilots died after aircraft belonging to the Nigerian Air Force crashed in Kaduna on Tuesday evening. The statement on Wednesday by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commander Edward Capwet, said the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao, promised to ensure a painstaking investigation into the incident. Amao stated this when he visited Kaduna to commiserate with families, friends and colleagues of the 2 pilots. Flight Lieutenant Abubakar Mohammed Alkali and Flight Lieutenant Elijah Aruna Karatu, who lost their lives in the tragic accident. Up next is business news. Do join us.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. Stakeholders and economists in the country have put the current infrastructure deficit in Nigeria at about $3 trillion. According to them, the huge infrastructure gap is affecting key sectors of the economy. They listed critical sectors like power, road, education, and health as part of key areas where infrastructure deficit is more rampant. Addressing newsmen in Abuja ahead of a national dialogue on infrastructure expected to hold in the nation's capital next week, Dr. Onua Nachi, managing partner DPH, who spoke on behalf of others, said stakeholders must intervene and come up with practical ways of fixing the deficit. He said the dialogue will focus on how to raise funds through the capital market to finance the widening infrastructure deficit in the country. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, has engaged stakeholders on draft resolutions of the Petroleum Industry Act. The consultation is to ensure a robust input to the interest of the Petroleum Industry Act and as well as make the oil and gas sector more attractive. The Nigerian Petroleum Industry Act was enacted to provide for the legal governance, regulatory and physical framework for the Nigerian petroleum industry and development of host communities and other related matters in the upstream, midstream and downstream sectors of the petroleum industry. In view of these, stakeholders have had to extol on the Industry Act as well as enhance a report to make the oil and gas sector more attractive to investors.
Are key to harnessing the gains of the PIA, and government has a mandate of ensuring sound management of the oil and gas sector, considering the key role this sector plays in the revenue generation profile of the country.
No act driven by human efforts could be perfect. It therefore suffices to say that the PIA may not have addressed all the issues pertaining to host communities to the satisfaction of everyone. But this is a good starting point, and there is always room, if and when necessary, for amendment of the law by Parliament.
This event, stakeholders' consultation for regulation, is a statutory prescription and a critical milestone in the implementation of the PIA.
The first phase of the stakeholders' engagement captures issues dealing with royalty, burning issues, and implementation of host communities in line with Section 2, 3, and 5 of the Petroleum Industry Act were discussed. The latest figures on Nigeria's power grid performance released showed that the quantum of electricity generated on the grid had continued to fluctuate as it fell by 903 megawatts on Monday, April 18, 2022. Nigeria's electricity grid had been characterized by some sort of instability lately, witnessing about 4 different grid collapses in less than 2 months. A document on the country's 24-hour grid performance obtained from the Federal Ministry of Power in Abuja on Tuesday showed that the fluctuation of electricity generated on the grid had yet to abate. It was observed that while peak power generation on the grid at 22.00 hours on April 17, 2022 was 3,829.7 megawatts, it crashed to 2,926.8 megawatts at 03.00 hours the next day. This implies that power generation on the national grid crashed by precisely 902.9 megawatts on Monday, April 18, 2022, before moving up again to a peak of 4,066.1 megawatts at 21.030 hours. The federal government has disclosed that the efforts to improve power supply across the country was back on track after about 2 months of challenges that led to the collapse of the national grid thrice within a month. The government said it expects the grid to deliver a minimum of 4,500 megawatts of daily power. Speaking at a power sector recovery program workshop for journalists in Abuja, the chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Engineer Sanusi Garba, said consumers will soon begin to see changes in electricity supply. Engineer Sanusi noted that failure to review the tariff in the past threatened the viability of the sector, adding that now things would get better. And lastly, on the business segment of the news, the board of directors of the African Development Bank has approved an equity investment of 9.8 million euros to support venture capital investment in African startups from seed to growth stages. Of the equity investment, 7 million euros will be sourced from the African Development Bank's resources, while the additional 2.8 million euros will be provided by the European Union through a partnership with the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States. The investment will help Cathay Africa Invest Innovation Fund meet its target of securing 110 million euros to invest in over 20 early-stage ventures across sub-Saharan Africa. The Innovation Fund focuses on financial inclusion, retail and logistics performance platforms, targeting online and mobile consumers, healthcare technologies, pay-as-you-go ecosystem, and off-grid energy technologies. And that's the size of the business segment of the news. I hand you back to Bukola for the rest of the bulletin. Thanks for watching.